Hey, welcome to Entertainment Insider. I'm Gene Triplett, entertainment editor for the Oklahoman and NewsOK.com. I'm here today with our blogging stars, George Lang, Matt Price, and Brandy McDonald. We're here to talk entertainment with you. First off today, we're going to talk about the summer movie season coming up and what we think is going to be the biggest summer hit. And we'll start with George.
Well, I always look for the worst case scenario in these situations, and I'm going with the Transformers sequel. Michael Bay, he might not know scintillating dialogue, but he knows how to blow stuff up real good, and people love seeing him blow stuff up real good, and they might have something to say about seeing Megan Fox and Shia LaBeouf as well. So I think that's probably close to a safe bet for the top draw this summer. I mean, there's other things that are coming out, but I think that's probably the surest thing that's on the studio's slate right now.
Matt, what do you think?
Transformers 2 sounds like a good guess. We talked earlier, will the piracy of the Wolverine movie hurt things? I read this weekend something that may push this back into the really strong opening category. They're going to release 6 different after-the-credit endings for this movie. So, I mean, I think if you're trying to get fanboys back, saying there's going to be 6 different endings on this thing featuring different characters, that's one way to do it. Yeah. Whether or not it has legs is going to depend on word of mouth and how good it is, but I think they may have just juiced their opening weekend back up with the with this maneuver. So,
well, is it going to be like one of those Hal Needham Smoking the Bandit movies where you see him, as the credits are rolling, you see these alternate endings?
I think it'll be more like an Iron Man, when after the credits you had Nick Fury come in and that was the introduction of his character. I think you're going to have characters either find out maybe something else that's happening to the character or throw in a slightly different twist. That's my understanding. So I'm going to say Wolverine is going to open strong, and if people like it, could do well. You've also got Transformers out there looming pretty large as well, with Megan Fox is sort of very buzzworthy right now.
Yes.
And you can't deny the power of the Michael Bay Explodo.
Brandy, what do you think?
Well, I think that it's probably going to come down to probably Transformers 2 and perhaps the Harry Potter movie that we've been waiting to see for so long. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince has been delayed since last fall, so I think the anticipation is really built for that. I also think the new Star Trek movie will do well. Yeah. But I think no matter what happens, we're pretty much locked in to have a pretty huge summer. I mean, the box office has broken records practically every weekend since the start of the year. There's been a few in there that haven't been record-breaking, but the attendance has been up, and I think we're looking like a huge summer, no matter which one comes out to be the top movie.
Yeah, well, I think you've got $160 million outer space epic with Star Trek here. You've got it's loaded with beloved characters. A star director, J.J. Abrams, who brought us Lost on television, and it's going to create interest in the old TV series all over again. And look at the monster following and all the Trekkies out there. I just don't you all think maybe Star Trek has a pretty good shot at it?
I think a lot of these movies have big followings already. I mean, Star Trek, Wolverine, Harry Potter. I think that all of those are going to do really well because they do have an audience that's already built in for them.
Well, yeah. Right. Okay. Well, the big controversy last week, of course, was a few House members got together and defeated the measure to make "Do You Realize," the Flaming Lips song, the official state rock song. Which outraged a lot of Flaming Lips fans and others, because here they were just dismissing a popular vote that this be the official state song. Of course, the governor immediately stepped in and said he's going to assign an executive order on Tuesday of this week at the Oklahoma History Center, making it the state song, despite what these few House members tried to do. And it was all about, they cited the band's use of foul language, of course, and the fact that Michael Ivins wore a hammer and sickle T-shirt to the Senate back in March as the reasons for turning it down. So, what do we think about what's gone down so far with this whole issue, George?
Well, I mean, it's a basic free speech issue, and I feel like the Flaming Lips at this point, I think we've gotten to the point where the state as a whole has embraced this band, and the band has always embraced Oklahoma. They're really one of the best ambassadors that, as far as entertainers go, that the state has. Also, this was a vote in which the Flaming Lips song got 51% of the vote, which means that they got more than everybody else combined. And for I think the great irony here, one of our colleagues mentioned this to me this morning, is that the people who were opposed to this song and were citing Michael Ivins' T-shirt as one of their reasons for being against it, they decided to deny a vote by the people. They denied the will of the people in this vote, and if anything smacks of totalitarianism, it would be that. So I feel like this is a point where really some sane voices needed to be heard, and we heard them. Brad Henry came out and decided, well, that's fine. We're going to do an executive order because this is the way the people voted, and we're going to honor it. And I think that was needed.
Yeah, I do too. Matt?
I think the way things played out, as far as the governor issuing the executive order and the song being honored, that's all the way things should have happened. The House just probably made themselves look bad by not voting for it. I will just point out one thing that's a little different than the things that we've talked about. I'm not sure that it's the smartest choice to wear a hammer and sickle T-shirt to the Capitol. And I'm not sure that doing so is even, I realize now that a lot of kids and hipsters and so on are wearing the hammer and sickle T-shirt as kind of a free speech
it's
issue.
Also sort of Soviet kitsch.
And I just I'm bothered a little bit by the Soviet kitsch thing, just because I don't think people realize or don't think about, 30 million people died in the gulags of Stalinist Russia. And using it to make a hipster point bothers me a little bit, and they could just be me. But that's something that I wish people thought about before they were going to do something like that. I think he has the perfect right to do that. I realize rock stars like to make outrageous visual statements. I don't like it when they wear Charles Manson T-shirts either. Sure. So from that point of view, I can see why people were offended, but I do think it was best that they went ahead and issued the executive order and honored the song. It's a very good song that people wanted to represent the state, regardless of the band's personal dress code.
There you go. Brandy?
Well, there's so many things that are just wrong about this issue. I mean, you just have so many things that are bad. I mean, and I do agree with Matt. I think that the whole hammer and sickle T-shirt thing is just in poor taste. It's not a very good idea to wear it anywhere, much less the Capitol. I also do think that, I'm not going to argue with you if you say that you think Wayne Coyne loves the F-bomb a little too much. But I do think that it's just kind of a silly issue because, 51% of the vote. The people voted for it. The people approved it. You're just kind of supposed to put the rubber stamp on it. You're not meant to really get into this whole process. That was not really what was ever intended to happen. It was supposed to be a public vote. And it just seems sort of silly, to come back a month later and say, now I have a problem with your shirt. If you had a problem with the shirt, ask him about it then. And you don't need to bring it up on the House floor. That's not an appropriate place to bring up that you have a problem with something. They don't even know why I wore it.
Yeah, but it was,
I think you should, it's not very hard. If you're a House member of the House, probably, to get the phone number and ask the guy, well, I didn't like you wearing that. Why did you wear that? I don't think that's the appropriate place to bring it up is on the House floor. There's no profanity in the song, and if you're not going to expect any controversy, then don't try and vote in an official state rock song.
And it also bears pointing out that a lot of these people who voted against it didn't have any problems posing with the band for photos.
That's true.
Smiling photos where they're all grinning together. You had all different kinds of issues. You had that issue. Then there were people who just didn't show up for the vote. Whenever you think about how narrowly it didn't pass, there was a whole bunch of people who abstained from it. There had 15 people abstain from this vote. If you're not going to vote on the official state rock song, what are you going to take a stand on?
Well, I think
honestly,
I really think the whole deal was motivated by politics anyway. The governor, they were hitting back at the governor, I think, because he had just vetoed their stem cell legislation outlawing stem cell research in the state. And I'm sure they were genuinely offended by Michael Ivins' hammer and sickle T-shirt, but like you said, why didn't they say something, 2 months ago instead of bringing it up then? And maybe I think it was unwise of Ivins to wear such a potentially provocative article of clothing into the hallowed halls of government. Ours are so full of pretty conservative lawmakers. It's bound to offend a bunch of people. But that still doesn't justify dismissing the results of a popular vote, and it does sound a lot like the land of the hammer and sickle right there.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for Entertainment Insider this week. I appreciate your listening in. and we hope you'll join us again next week. Thanks a lot.
Let's see it.